Dear friends, may I have your attention, please? If you would be kind enough to just find a seat, if there is none around the table, could you please just grab one and sit on the side, make yourself comfortable. Dragi prijatelji, ako nema mjesta za stolom, molim vas uzmite stolicu i postavite negdje u blizini. For those that don't know me, my name is Ivan Žuger. Been given this privilege of shedding tears more than anybody else. I'll be the first one to begin. I'd like to say greetings to friends in Croatia and Italy and all around the world who are watching us live on the web. Dragim prijateljima i rodbini u Hrvatskoj i gdje god se nalazite, srdačan pozdrav iz nas, iz Otave, svima vama. Okupili smo se da izrazimo svoje posljednje tople želje dragoj Leji, da se sjetimo njezinog burnog, toplog života koji je dijelila s nama, da ju ispratimo u život vječni, onako kako samo mi to znamo, sa punim srcem. We are gathered to say farewell to our dear Lea, who shared her life with us. So we're going to do it in our way, with a warm heart and no doubt some tears. All of you know Lea is a person full of life. And Lea, I kept my word. I'm wearing the t-shirt you asked me to do it for the occasion. It is actually, many know, but some of you may not know, Lea was had a keen interest in astronomy. And this is a shirt from observatory in California where she visited. But anyhow, she was full of life. Her curiosity about life was never ending. And she gave no attention to sadness. And she says, Ivan, please don't be sad. I'll be fine. And so she said, do me a favor. You know what I do when I'm sad? I kind of, you know that song that I always hum? And she would hum a song, Letovanić, all the time. So we're lucky to have with us Croatoan Tamburica Orchestra, who will join us in saying thank you to Lea for everything she shared with us. Tamburaši našeg folklornog ansambla Croatoan izvjestit će nekoliko melodija, posebno one koje je bila Leji pri srcu kad god je bila tužna. To je pjesma Letovanić koju je komponirao skladbe njezin brat. To je bilo uvijek pri srcu. Znamo, svi bismo na neki način željeli reći hvala Lea. Ja sam imao tu čast da budem sa Domagojom u bolnici kad smo obojica mogli joj reći hvala još na svemu što je učinila za sve nas i za nas. Ali evo, u tom duhu, recimo u mislima hvala Leji uz zvuke tamburice sa pjesmom hvala i stavimo se u jedno raspoloženje kako bi Lea željela sa pjesmom Letovanić. Croatoan. Thank you, Kratvan. Hvala Kratvanu. Nema bolje osobe koja može nešto reći o Leji nego njezin dugogodišnji prijatelj koji polako kaska za njezinim godinama i približava se 100, ali neću otkriti koliko je blizu. Njezin dragi prijatelj, dugogodišnji Tvrtko Šešelj, izvoli. Pitam ga da donesem stolicu, kaže ne treba.
Ne trebam zato jer sam rođen u Sarajevu, u Bosni. Dear friends of the late Lea, she almost made it to 101. But before I proceed, as I was coming down to this hall, I noticed a picture right here on the wall with ex and dead Premier Trudeau. Now, something about this picture. When the picture was taken, Ivan and Lea put Trudeau in the middle. And Trudeau says, no, that's not going to be it. She has to be in the middle. So she was. Well, let's go back to the eulogy. She almost made 101 years after she was born in Trieste, Italy. Her father did not like to live under Mussolini's fascist regime. So the family emigrated to Zagreb, which at the time was in Yugoslavia. The life of an immigrant family is not easy. Most of you know it. But her father was a good provider. He managed to support the family. As a child, Lea was a jack of all trades. She helped her father build and make the figurines and paint them and so on and so forth, which he later used to sell to supplement the family income. Lea attended local schools, and as a child, she experienced the poverty and the problems of the World Depression. During the Second War, as an Italian citizen, she got a position with the Italian consulate in Zagreb. It is understandable, her life standard went up and she started to live. After the war, she was the very first person among the other few in Zagreb who rode an Italian scooter known as Vespa. And the Zagreb streets seemed to be different when Lea would ride around. In the year 1954, she got promoted and transferred to the embassy of Ottawa. Few months later, she bought a car. It was a small car known as Morris Mini. Well, a few months after that, a comical incident happened when her Mini Morris stopped in the middle of the street. Not knowing any English, couldn't ask for any help, and being inventive, she went back to the car, opened the trunk, grabbed the rope, and she tied the rope one end to the car and the other one put over her shoulder. And she started pulling the car to the side of the street. Well, when the passersby saw the situation, they helped immediately. They jumped in and pulled the car out of the way to the side of the street. Well, that was the first lesson of Canada she learned. Canadians are, what are Canadians? See, I missed the page. I got to turn it over. She learned that Canadians are good-natured. Thank you. Good-natured people, ready to help when they see that the help is needed, even if they are not asked for it. Well, Lea met Ivan in the Croatian community, and after several months of romance, they got married in 1957. The very first house they bought was on Irvine Avenue. It doesn't stand anymore. And they allowed most of their friends to stay in that big house. Well, the reason for it was because Lea liked to be surrounded by the people. Well, Ivan and I were the best friends. We were of the same age, Second War veterans, officers of the Croatian Armed Forces, kept us together for years and years and years. And what is another strange thing, we both worked for Keystone Construction, which was a heavy construction company building roads. And at the time, it had, at some time, had 1,000 employees, to get you the picture of the size. Well, at that time, Ivan and I decided to buy a boat. And we bought a 15-foot boat with 30 horsepower engine. And of course, we liked it. So a comical incident happened with that boat. My wife Barbara and Lea decided to go boating to the Seaway. Seaway, huge waterway. Well, Barbara was sitting in the boat, and Lea wanted to go for a swim. There were no public beaches in vicinity, no one around, so Lea took off her swimsuit, and she was letting the water caress her body. Well, suddenly, a speedboat appeared, and Lea panicked. It was an RCMP. It was an RCMP patrol that was patrolling the Seaway, and they were checking on the safety equipment, the life jackets and other safety equipment on the boat. And also they asked if there is any help needed. Well, Lea couldn't come out of the water. Because in the excitement, she let go of her swimsuit. Well, Barbara told Mounties that there is no problem and everything is in order. And Mounties must have seen the situation, and being gentlemen as they are, they left. Well, on the return home, Lea had a problem. She had to explain to Ivan how she lost the swimsuit. And Barbara wasn't telling. The truth came out years later. Well, Ivan and Lea enjoyed traveling. They drove and stayed the weekends with their friends in Windsor, Toronto, Cleveland, wherever Ivan had the friends. Lea was a very skilled person. She was skilled in handcraft, and among other things, she made copper engravings. I still have a Croatian, a Bosnian emblem, and the stone kamenita vrata, da se ne mučim s riječi, kamenita vrata, and I still have those. See, those pages are giving me trouble. Huh? Treća stranica. Okay. Well, what was I saying? The last read it on the bottom. Well, as I said, they were traveling around, and one time Lea decided to use her inventive power, and she decided to construct a car top tent. Oops, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, well, it's all right. I know most of it. See, and they decided to take that invention for a test. So they traveled somewhere up north, and when the night came, Lea put the contraption up on top of the roof, and they went to sleep. Ha! The storm struck. A summer storm, lots of thunder. And of course, it woke them up. And when Ivan was wide awake, he says, "Let's go to a motel." And that was the end of the invention. But don't laugh. Such a contraption today is reality. It is available. You can buy one of those on the internet. So, Lea loved music. She had an accordion, later bought a piano. She was self-taught, wanted to learn how to play, and I recall she asked me to help her with the music because I was playing accordion at the Beach Lake for many summers. Anyways, the Ottawa, that means you people here, Ottawa Croatian community greatly benefited from her involvement with the Croatian school, tamburica groups, and folklore. She was exceptionally good at it. So the children liked to be with her. When the war broke out in Croatia in 1991, Lea embraced Croatian fight for freedom. She wrote many letters to the world leaders and politicians, and the main theme was stop the war in Croatia. After Croatia won the war, Lea and Ivan spent many summers in Zagreb because Ivan was going to print the books he wrote in Zagreb. Well, Lea was his helper and his advisor. Unfortunately, Ivan had to stop working due to the difficult disease, Alzheimer's disease. Lea was instrumental in all his undertakings, especially in care and help he needed during his prolonged illness. You got a 4-page somewhere? No, I got it. Well, living with Ivan, Lea adopted Croatia as her own country. And for acceptance and involvement in Croatian way of living with our community, we owe her a deepest respect. Her ashes will be interred, next to Ivan's in Croatia. Dear Lea, be assured that you will stay in our memories for as long as we live. And I'm taking this opportunity to send to you, on behalf of all your friends, our last goodbye. May you rest in peace. Draga Lea, bila si veoma društvena, volila si glazbu i pjesmu, pa sam izabrao jednu romancu da se s njom oprostim od tebe. Kad umrla budem, ne palte mi svijeće, jer znam da me nitko požaliti neće. Samo što će zvona jecati jače, umrla je starica, nema tko da plače. Kad umrla budem, jedan sprovod mali, nešto prijatelja i svećenik stari, za mnom nitko neće gorke suze liti. Poslije moje smrti sve će isto biti. Neka ti bude laka hrvatska zemlja koju si volila, u kojoj će tvoj pepeo biti sahranjen uz Ivičin koji je tamo već 10 godina. Zbogom, Lea.
Hvala Trutko. Sad ćemo jednu malu minutu pauze da Kroatani uzmu svoje instrumente ili već što imate ovdje. A dok to čine, jedan aplauz i hvala tamburašima Kroatana za sudjelovanje u ovom. Hvala vam od srca. još jedna škola Kroatvan. Kao što znate, Lea je voljela djecu i prema svima je bila onako toplo raspoložena. Ali posebno u srcu je nosila svoje dvoje kumčadi koje je neizmjerno voljela i pokušala im prenijeti taj osjećaj ljubavi za život. As you know, Lea loved life, loved children, and particularly she loved two of her godchildren. She tried to install her love of life. Who am I to talk about that? Please welcome two Lea's godchildren, Domagoj Šešelj and Mirana Žuger.
COVID be damned. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm Carl Cecily. I'm also Domagoj Šešelj. And I am one of the two godchildren of Lea. Am I going first, or are you? Okay. So, people tell me that I am vulgar. I swear too much. I come by it honestly. Let me explain. A few weeks ago, at the hospital, the day before Lea passed, I walked into her room early in the morning. She was asleep. And I said, "Hi, Lea, it's Domagoj." She opened her eyes. She looked at me and said, "Ma Domagoj, blank, 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 take me home." I won't repeat what she said, but it wasn't very nice. I laughed until I cried. What could I do? So I wandered out of the room, and her doctor was waiting there for me to talk to me. And doctor saw me, and she said, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Oh, yeah." She just swore at me. Doctor looked at me and said, "You know, she's 100 years old. She can say whatever she wants." And who am I to disagree with that? Perfect logic. But that spoke to the passion of Lea. You know, and she was in the hospital for about a month, and every time I saw her, she'd swear and say, "Take me home." She wanted to be at home. Lea wanted what she wanted. She was very passionate about these things. And those of you who know her well understand where I'm coming from. Not that she's a vulgar person, she just wanted what she wanted. So over the last few weeks, I've been contemplating Lea's effect on my life. And I realized she taught me a lot. It really came to fruition. So let's go back to the early 60s. I was quite young, no memories of those days, but Lea knew me, I didn't know her. But my first memory of Lea is at Meech Lake, the cottage. A lot of you have been there, I'm sure. And that cottage is where I learned to swim. And it was Lea. You see, I would always swim with a life jacket. And I guess I was a whiny kid, and I was scared of the water a little bit. And she got tired of it one day and threw me in the water without the life jacket. I've been swimming without a life jacket ever since. So she taught me how to swim. I give her credit for that. She taught me to sail. At Meech Lake, she would take me out on they had a catamaran and a laser, and she'd take me out, show me how the winds work, taught me how to read the wind on the water and how to get the best angles of attack. And I had forgotten about that up until just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, she taught me how to sail. When I was in grade 3 or 4, I didn't know my multiplication tables. And the teacher sent home a note Your son doesn't know the multiplication tables. He has to know them. And at that time, Lea and Ivica were in Windsor visiting us, and she caught wind of this through conversation, and she did not leave me alone for 2 days. Constantly. What's 6 times 5? What's this? What's that? What's 8 times 9? You know what? At the end of those 2 days, I knew the multiplication tables. And to this day, I still know what's 9 times 8. I don't know why I always had a problem with that. So I give Lea credit for that. She taught me how to use a chainsaw. Think about that. She taught me how to use a chainsaw. She would always want adventures, and she would take me out to the woodlot that they owned to cut down trees, and taught me the best way to cut them down, to do it safely, and be safe. Like my dad said, she knew so much about so many things and was interested in everything. So much so that when I was in grade 13, I was taking, they don't have that anymore, but grade 13 calculus, mathematics course. And she started asking me questions about it. So I spent a couple hours with her explaining the principles of calculus as far as I knew them as a 18-year-old. And then she went and enrolled in a mathematics class after that. That's the kind of person she was. Always wanted to learn something new. But getting back to the cottage, so many summers spent there. There was only one rule at that cottage. You had to have fun. And everyone was welcome. Everyone. As you can see by the picture, even our former prime minister and our current one. Let's not talk about politics, though. We'll leave that alone. Lea, she taught me one other thing. Just in the last year, not to underestimate her. See, Lea was very particular. And she liked to keep a certain amount of money, just a small amount in the house. And she always kept it in 5s because she could count it easier because she was visually impaired. And one day when I was visiting her, she said, "Someone's taken my money." And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you just didn't count it right, or you just misplaced it, you're old. No, you don't know. And she was insistent, someone is taking my money. She had help coming in 4 times a day, and they're great women who would take care of her, take care of her medical needs. But because of her insistence, I installed a security camera where she hid her money. Only took 3 days. Someone was taking her money. The focus of the story isn't about the person who took her money, but it's about her. At 100 years old, she was still sharp as a tack. She knew, and I underestimated her. And her good friend John, who's up here, John was her techie guy. He would teach her about the internet, about iPhones, which even I haven't figured out yet. So she always wanted to learn, and she would always impart what she knew to others. So looking back, I was very fortunate to have Lea. I was very fortunate to have her in my life. She taught me so much. Lea, I will miss you, as we all will.
Yes, sir. Hvala Domagoy, that was incredible. I echo all those sentiments. It is a privilege to speak today. It is a privilege to know Kumalea. I met a very close friend of Kuma's today for the first time. Emo, can you stand, please? Lea and Ivo love to travel. 40 years ago, they went to Caribbean and met Imo's parents, and they've been lifelong friends as children. This was Lea. And so I wrote a letter for Kumalea. Draga Kumalea, I know you're upstairs having a cup of tea with Ivo. And my heart smiles because you are together again, dancing in the stars. Your love, your light, and presence, we feel it so strongly here today. As we celebrate your legacy of love. 100 years of love, Kuma. Your energy is a force of nature, now present in the trees that dance in the wind. Lea, you are the sunlight on our faces. And you are the gentle rain. Imam te rada, Kumalea. Imam te rada. Grazie mille. From all of your children and hearts you've touched, we carry your light, your legacy of unconditional love, your kindness and positivity for the future. To eternal life, to Lea, to love. Živjeli. Živjela u vječnosti.
One thing I forgot to say about Lea, this is one of my favorite stories. It was in the last year. She's 100 years old. I took her to see her doctor. And we're sitting and waiting for the doctor to come into the room. Doctor came in, looked at Lea and said, "How you doing today, Lea?" And Lea, in very deadpan voice, said, and I quote, "Well, I'm not pregnant." I fell off the chair laughing. So let's remember all the laughter with Lea. There's been lots. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to share with you some remarks and greetings from Croatia. Dear Teta Lea, thank you for all cheerful and positive gatherings and conversations. Rest in peace, where my uncle Ivan is waiting for you in heaven. From Srebrenica Bambić. Her daughter Helen Bambić wrote, "Dear Lea, thank you for your positive energy and thank you for all the great memories." And Martina Bambić, who visited Lea 3 times in Canada. Dear Teta Lea, I will always remember you as an extraordinary, strong, and incredible woman full of life, always joyful and playful. Thank you for teaching me how to be the best version of myself, how to be persistent and never give up. I will never forget our camping adventures, and traveling around Canada. You will eternally have a special place in my heart. I hope you are now laughing and dancing with your beloved Ivan wherever deep in the clouds. Miss you both so much. Thank you for being here. Martina Bambic. Now I would, I'm sorry, sir, I forgot your name. Would you like to say a few words? You're okay with that? Okay, I'm sorry I haven't met you before. Now, before we go into open mic, I will invite the president of Croatian Folklore Ensemble Croatoan, my son Nikola, to say a few words on behalf of Croatoan.
One thing they don't tell you about masks is they're not good to cry in. That's for sure. Dear friends, my name is Nikola Žugar. I'm the president of Croatian Folklore Ensemble Croatoan here in Ottawa. And as my dad said, I was asked to say a few words about our beloved Teta Lea and her decades of service in Ottawa's Croatian folklore community. And I would be remiss if I didn't do this in both languages. As you know, Teta Lea was Croatian school teacher and our Croatian school teacher, both past and present here, so I will try my best. Dragi prijatelji, ja sam Nikola Žugar, predsjednik Hrvatskog folklornog ansambla Croatoan. Zamoljen da sam da kažem nekoliko riječi o našoj voljenoj Teta Lei i nežinom 10-ljetnom radu u našem hrvatskom folklornom ansamblu. It is difficult to find the words to describe someone who was so much to so many. Teta Lea was involved in folklore since the very beginning, even before Croatoan existed. Her, Miss Vera Beslić, and others dressed up in costume and sang traditional songs as early as the late 1950s. In later years, when Croatoan was formed, Lea always preferred to teach and mentor the youngest members of our community. She had a genuine way with children, as we'll see in the slideshow shortly. A compassionate, empathetic, loving, and gentle person. She taught folklore songs and dances and was one of the first children's Croatian language teachers. She remained steadfast in her dedication through to the end of her life, to her last days. Lea attended our banquets, sang songs with us, and recited her many humorous and loving poems. Teta Lea, on behalf of everyone you've touched, on behalf of everybody here today, thank you for your love. Thank you for your love of folklore, for your love of Croatian identity, and for everything you've done for this community. Teta Lea, u ime svi koje ste dokatli, u ime svi ovdje danas prisutni folkloraša, hvala vam na ljubavi. Hvala vam na ljubavi prema folklornu, našem hrvatskom identitetu i na svemu što se učinili za nas. Rest in peace.
Now I'd like to invite to open mic Lena Čapkun, then followed by Slobodan Gospodnetić, and then followed by Žana Đula. So Lena.
Non so se ci sono amici italiani qua di Teta Lea, ma vi auguro il benvenuto. For most of the kids who were part of the Croatian community here in the late 70s and 80s, Lea really felt like everyone's auntie. She was always ready to listen or to embrace us with her beautiful smile. It felt as if her heart was big enough for us all. For some of us here today, Lea was special, a real member of our family. For us, I will cherish the great memories of weekends with her and Ivan at their cottage on Meech Lake, or the parties at my parents' house, lots of them, some of which included Dr. Furic, Teta Bloom, Father Skinner, and others who are no longer with us. We would play tambura and sing and dance till all hours, and I can still hear Ivan's voice resonating as he sang with all his might. And you could see Teta Lea dancing with everyone there. And in fact, she even danced here at the Klapa Samoa Zabava 2 years ago when she was 99 years old. She was dancing. There were cheese fondues at the Jelačić's, our famous lamb roasts in the summer, and meals after midnight mass at Christmas at our house. Teta Lea was a dear friend to my mother. They shared the Italian connection, as Lea was from Trieste and spoke Italian. After my parents passed away, she became my dear friend. And then she became a great aunt, or nonna, to Emma and Sofia, whom she called her pupe, her little dolls. Well, they're not so little anymore. She loved listening to them play piano for her, and of course, she'd always have some tips to give her, because she always knew a little bit extra. The memories of her sitting with them at the piano from the time when they sat on her lap to reach the keys will always stay with my girls when they play. Finally, she loved going down to watch them swim in the pool in her building. When we would go down that long hallway to get to the pool, she was so happy that she would take their arm and skip, literally skip, down the hallway, waving her cane in the air. She was still skipping at 99. And in fact, that's when she bought an iPhone, as we were talking about, because some of the nurses would play on their phones after giving her medication. So she thought she should have one too and see what this is all about. I mean, she always wanted to learn new things. And how many 100-year-olds do you know would get an iPhone, would video chat on Facebook, and watch YouTube videos to learn many new things? She certainly had an indomitable spirit. She remained ever optimistic and never gave up. It helped her overcome her childhood, the war era, the move to Canada, and other hardships in her life. And it also helped her reach the age of almost 101. After spending time with Lea for almost 50 years and hearing various stories from her, I will take from her that although life is not always easy, you can rise above it. She showed us to love without condition, to not hold grudges, to let people follow their own path, to have a warm smile for everyone, and to open our hearts to all. Teta Lea was such a special person to many of us, but belonged to all of us. May we all hold her and her indomitable spirit in our hearts. I know that I will miss her terribly, and so will my girls and my family, but she will always be with us. Ti vogliamo tanto bene, Teta Lea, and may you now skip down the hallways of eternity with Ivan, free at last.
Lea was a remarkable woman, or I should say Teta Lea. I first met her in 1963. This was less than a year since we came to Canada. My mom, who was a pianist, studied in Zagreb together with her brother, Emil. And a few months after we moved to Ottawa, my mom got the message from Emil that his sister lives in Ottawa. And of course, we made a connection, and we were invited then for a Christmas dinner in 1963. I was still going to high school, and so was my brother. And this was an absolutely fantastic evening for us. First, I could say, first evening that we could spend sort of with people of our kind, with friends, because I don't know that any of you who came later to Canada have much imagination of what the life was in Ottawa in 1962 and 63. Ottawa was then a city of 170,000 people. And coming from communist Yugoslavia, you kept to yourself. You didn't go anywhere, you did your job, and so on. So this was a breath of fresh air to meet Ivan and Lea and spend a marvelous Christmas together with them. From this evening, a friendship developed between my parents and Ivan and Lea, and also between Ivan and Lea and me and my brother. And after many parties, weddings, christenings, and so on, it lasted for until just now, 2 weeks ago. As I said earlier, Lea was a remarkable person. She was very affectionate, but the most important part of her character was that she offered help to whoever needed it. And she was very supportive. Whatever you wanted to do, she encouraged you to do it. Now, I'd like to mention one unexpected encounter between my brother, myself, and Lea and Ivan in 1973. We went to Yugoslavia in those days in September, my brother and I, and we decided to go to Island Brač from where the family comes from. And Ivan and Lea were going to Croatia first time since in many years at the same time. So without any planning whatsoever, we went to Dol in Brač to visit my grandfather's grave, and we were driving to Postira. It came to the little port, and we sat there, and I turned to the right and looked at this Volkswagen, and I said, well, this can't be so. It was Ivan and Lea in that Volkswagen in Postira in mid-September 1973. The window of opportunity for something like this to happen was from 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because we took a 6 o'clock ferry in the morning and we were planning to go back to Split with 2 o'clock ferry. And we saw them at around 11:30. And then, of course, hi, what are you doing here? And then we returned back to Split together and parted our ways. We went back to Canada. They continued their travels through Croatia. I would like to, as you all know, Lea liked music. And I would like to play for you a song. But I'm not sure. I would like to share something that Lea wrote for me in October 2018, 3 years ago, for my birthday. I hope you'll be patient because I'm not sure I'll be able to go through it without some rest periods. Dragi moj Bodek, od srca ti želim da zaploviš u mirnu luku sreće. To si i zaslužio. Dosta si se nalunjao u životu tražeći smirenje. Hanuma će ti sigurno tu sekundirati i pomagati tvojim željicama. Ti si moj dobri, zlatni dečkogo, kojega ja puno cijenim i želim ti od srca veliki tovar sreće i u poslu solidan uspjeh. Neka ti budućnost bude puna radosti. Puse na čelo, tvoja stara Lea.
Već je bilo puno toga rečeno o našoj dragoj teta Leji, ali ja ću samo par stvari da se ja pridružim ovom lijepom, u stvari zbogom za tetu Leju. I'm Žana Đula, and I had the privilege to know Lea as a friend and a mentor for the past 41 years. I met Teta Lea in her late EVEC in the fall of 1980 when I arrived to Ottawa to begin university studies and joined the folklore group Croatoan. You all heard how Lea loved folklore and that she was truly Croatoan's biggest fan. What you don't know is that while we were all still learning basic Drmesh steps, she was already dreaming of full stage productions that Croatoan could do one day. So it is truly a good thing that she lived up to 100, as this allowed the evolving generations of Croatoan teachers and performers to actually achieve the kolo and tambura high standards that Lea was convinced so long ago that Croatoan could reach. So she truly believed from us in all our potential before we even knew we had it. Teta Lea je dugi niz godina hranila i njegovala tijelo i dušu od svih njezinih prijatelja, mladih i starih, a ja ću se ipak brojati među onim mlađim prijateljima, makar i meni već godine prolaze. Znalo se da smo svi uvijek dobro došli na njene špagete, na čašu vina ili na plivanje ljeti kod njihove vikendice na Mić jezeru. A za svakog od nas je imala ohrabrujuću riječ, dobar savjet, a i neki dobar vic da nam bude lakše. Lea nas je uvijek savjetovala da živimo punim životom i putujemo kad god možemo. For me, Lea continued to be an inspiration until the very end. I will miss her lively intelligence and her fighting spirit. Thank you, Teta Lea, for everything, and may you journey in peace among the stars. Hvala.
As they say, best for the last, but I'm not that. What's coming up, you don't want to leave before. But before my final remarks, I'd just like to thank Father Dinko for your help and understanding. Croatoan Ensemble, like I said, Domagoj for your help and support. Tvrtko, you're the best. Jana, thanks for picking up the phone call, and she helped tremendously with food and the drinks. And Daniel, thanks. And of course, my daughter, Danica, thank you for helping out. And my son, Nicola, for helping with presentation that you're just about to see. And of course, my family, Mirana and Nicole, for when the things get tough. And when you lose a dear friend like Lea, things do get tough. And you know, one thing sort of a take home from Lea is that she always had a solution for everything that's painful in life. And she said to me, Ivan, yeah, things will from time to time get on your nerves, people will get on your nerves, this will get, she says, just remember this, you grab it and you just go, and that was Lea's. So every time she would see me down, she would say, I don't have a time for massage, but do this. So, yeah, she was very big heart, as you all know. And she had a remarkable life. I was fortunate to go through thousands, literally thousands of images of her life. And it struck me that we have no idea how Lea looked like when she was 10, 15. We had no idea what her teenage lives were. And so much in her life we didn't know about. So with this slide presentation, I'm trying to pull out the best of Lea over very, very many years. And forgive me if I did not have all the pictures that you may be in, but I think we selected some 170, I believe, and some videos to take you through memory lane. And it's okay if you shed a tear. I did while trying to put them together. Lea was our regular guest over weekends. I would always call and say, Lea, what are you doing? And if other friends did not invite her, then I say, hey, I'll pick you up. And one weekend she argued. She says, no, I'm going to drive myself. And I said, there is no need, but you know, no, I'm driving. So those of you that know, I have a visitor's parking to left of my house, and I'm out in the garage and I hear this vehicle. Boom! I'm saying, oh my gosh, and I'm thinking it's Lea's van. Well, of course, she's being Lea, comes out, hug and kiss and all of this. So we had a good time. She comes out and she goes just as fast. And as some of you know, there's a planter right next to the house. Bang, she goes. She says, dat, ko je to tu postavil? But for her it was very difficult to lose her license. And we tried to compensate for it. But she said no. She's getting her electric Vespa, she called it, wheelchair. And winter, minus 20-some, I'm driving home from my mom down Merrill Road, and I see this thing crouched. There's a flag in there, snowing, snow. I took a second look. I said, no, it can't be. Yes, it was. It was Lea going down Merrill to a Castro store to get some stuff. I said, well, Lea, why didn't you come? I don't want to bother people. After all, what's wrong getting some fresh air? So that was Lea. She was determined. She would go, she would do things. And last Christmas time, I said, Lea, you know, you're doing so well, and you're 100 years old. What's the secret? So she paused and she says, no secret. And she says, it's love. I said, yeah, right. We hear that so often. She said, no. So do we have that video available? So I said to her, there's audio? But if not, we can play it. We'll find out at the very end. So I video recorded with the phone, iPhone, that I got after she got hers, came over and said, Ivica, I know it's good. Can you help me to find out how good it is? So we did record her, and she told me that in that video it says, I always longed for love. And at the beginning I didn't find it. And I wasn't, very happy. But then I came across love. And you know it when you come across it. And then she says, it is like a blossom. I won't give you everything else, but you'll hear from her. And she says, life is easy to 100 when you have a love in your heart. And I said, that's a wise thing. She says, no, it's not wisdom. It comes from within. And that's who Kuma was. A lot of love in any occasion. Life was to be lived, not to complain about. Her aches and pains was nothing to complain about. She always find a happy tune to sing in the most difficult time of her life. So I'm going to leave you, Daniel, can we have the lights? I'm going to leave you with a memory lane. Some of the stuff you will recognize, and I call it a tribute to Lea's life, to Lea's love, and it's my way of saying thank you, Lea, for everything you've done and been for my family.
Can you just say that people online will start seeing it
Samo cveće oko tebe. Sve je ugodno i toplo. Sve moraš izdržati za volju ljubavi. Dok god ti se ljubav vraća. A kad ti se ne vraća, onda podivljaš. Amen.
I to je to. To je sva mudrost. Koliko ti uzelo godina da tu mudrost stekneš? Koliko ti je godina uzelo da si mudrost tu stekla u životu?
Od uvijek. Ja sam se s tim rodila.
Je,
za mene je ljubav od uvijek bila glavna, ali ju nisam imala. Ja ju nisam mogla naći. Ja sam se plakala i ubijala sama sebe i svašta, sve radi ljubavi. A kad je došlo, ona je pravi, onda sam bila sretna. I znala sam da imam ljubav.
I kažeš, nema ništa ljepše na ovom svijetu od ljubavi.
Nema ništa važnijega. Nema ništa važnijega. Sve se lako podnaša ako imaš iskrenu ljubav za se. I najtežu stvar lako podneseš. A nek ti ta ljubav prevari, onda je sve se sloza na tebe.
Mudrost.
Ja ne znam je to mudrost, ali je to tu unutra.
Sad si mi baš dala fino. That's it. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. Lijepi pozdrav svima u Hrvatskoj. I vi ovdje ostanite, ima nešto hrane za i međusobno podijelimo još osjećaje misli na Leju. So, uzmite k srcu ovo što je Lea rekla i hvala što ste došli svima.